When it was ratified in 1789, the US Constitution didn't just institute a government by the people, it provided a way for the people to alter the Constitution itself. And yet, of the nearly 11,000 amendments proposed in the century, only 27 have succeeded as of 2016. So, what is it that makes this constitution so hard to change? In short, it's its creators. The founders of the United States were trying to create a unified country from 13 different colonies, which needed assurances that their agreements couldn't be easily undone. So here's what they decided. For an amendment to even be proposed, it must receive two-thirds of approval in both houses of Congress or a request from two-thirds of state legislatures to call a national convention. And that's just the first step. To actually change the constitution, the amendment must be ratified by three-quarters of all states. So to do this, each state can either have its legislature vote on the amendment or it can hold a separate ratification convention with delegates elected by the voters. The result of such high thresholds is that today, the American Constitution is quite static. Most other democracies pass amendments every couple of years. The US, on the other hand, hasn't passed anything since 1992. At this point, you may wonder how many amendments managed to pass at all. The first 10, known as the Bill of Rights, include some of America's well known freedoms, such as the freedom of speech and the right to a fair trial, and these were passed all at once to resolve some conflict from the original constitutional convention. Years later, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, as well as the 14th and the 15th Amendments, only passed after a bloody civil war. Ratifying amendments has become harder as the country has grown larger and more diverse. The first ever proposed amendment, a formula to assign congressional representatives, was on the verge of ratification in the 1970s. However, as more and more states joined the Union, the number needed to reach the three-quarter mark increased as well, leaving it unratified to this day. Today, there are many suggested amendments, including outlawing the burning of the flag, limiting congressional terms, or even repealing the Second Amendment. While, while many enjoy strong support, their likelihood of passing is slim. Americans today are the most politically polarized since the Civil War, making it nearly impossible to reach a broad consensus. In fact, the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia once calculated that due to America's representative system of government, it could take as little as 2% of the population to block an amendment. Of course, the simple solution would be to make the constitution easier to amend by lowering the thresholds required for proposal and ratification. That, however, would require its own amendment, wouldn't it? Instead, historical progress has mainly come from the US Supreme Court, which has expanded its interpretation of existing constitutional laws to considering that Supreme Court justices are unelected and serve for life once appointed. This is far from most democratic options. Interestingly, the founders themselves may have foreseen this problem early on. So, in a letter to James Madison, Thomas Jefferson wrote that laws should expire every 19 years rather than having to be changed or repealed, since every political process is full of obstacles and it distorts the will of the people. Although he believed that the basic principles of the Constitution would endure, he stressed the earth that the earth belongs to the living and not to the dead.